seeing and knowing as they are. The mind clarifies itself.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's breakdown. Today, we are going to talk about something very practical and exceptionally wonderful set of materials shared by the Australian Buddha Association. To be honest, with the pace of life nowadays, who doesn't have moments when their mind feels all cluttered? Every day, we are bombarded by all kinds of information, and our emotions feel like they are riding a roller coaster. So, how can we find our own sense of peace and mindfulness amidst this tangled mess of daily life? Today, let us carefully unpack this ancient yet hardcore piece of wisdom. Let us dive right into the core topic. Have you ever pictured this scenario if your brain is a cup of water, and there is naturally some sediment at the bottom? Then why do we always keep stirring it up? This hits so close to home for our daily lives. Do you often feel distracted and anxious, unable to quiet your mind? In fact, the philosophical teachings in these materials offer just a brilliant solution to this everyday dilemma. Alright, to understand this solution, we first need to grasp the foundational concepts. They might sound a bit mystical, but they are actually extremely grounded: direct seeing Rushi and direct knowing Rushi. Simply put, what is direct seeing? It is when you purely observe things as they truly are, neither adding nor subtracting anything, and without trying to change them. And what is direct knowing? It is when you clearly understand how things are in your heart, but you absolutely refrain from slapping your own self-invented labels onto them. In other words, if we want to see this world perfectly, the most crucial and vital step we must take is to stop forcefully imposing our own prejudiced concepts onto other people or things. Hearing this, you might think, oh gosh, that sounds so difficult. The materials actually offer a very interesting comparison here. Look at top-tier geniuses like Nikola Tesla or the mathematical prodigy Ramanujan. Those people were blessed by the heavens, naturally equipped with a radar for direct seeing, so they could effortlessly see through the operating laws of the universe. But what about ordinary people like us? Are we out of the game? Absolutely not. The materials explicitly state that even if you are a humble farmer working the field from dawn to dusk, or a factory assembly line worker, as long as you honestly follow natural laws and strictly adhere to established rules and cycles, guess what? You can achieve the exact same perfect state as the geniuses. Therefore, you don't necessarily have to be a genius, you just need to precisely keep the rules. So, what is the core logic behind all this? There is a super classic line in the Shurangama Sutra that hits the nail right on the head. When knowledge and views are established upon knowing and seeing, that is the root of ignorance of vidya. This sounds a bit convoluted, but translated simply, it means this: when we insist on attaching definitions like I think it is like this to what we see and know, and then cling tightly to these self-made labels as absolute truth, that is what is called ignorance. It is the true root of all our foolishness and afflictions. Why do we suffer? Why are we lost? It is entirely because we are too rigid, insisting on defining every single experience and refusing to let go once we grip it in our hands. Part E: from the 6 thieves to the 6 spiritual powers, transforming our sensory foundations. So, how on earth can we break this bad habit of loving to slap labels on things? We need to look at ourselves from a biological perspective. Just think, our senses, like our eyes and ears, are basically biological sensors on our bodies. When they endlessly chase after the dazzling external world, looking and listening wildly everywhere, they become bona fide 6 thieves. Why are they called thieves? Because they steal the peace in our hearts and exhaust all our energy. However, the most magical plot twist arrives right here. The materials tell us that as long as you can cause these senses to settle down and stop blindly making external demands, they will instantly transform and manifest the spiritual powers you inherently possess, meaning your innate, exceptionally sharp and powerful awareness. Part R: the wisdom of sedimenting muddy water, the specific mechanism for achieving mental clarity. This brilliantly leads to the core teaching of the materials, the metaphor of the muddy water we mentioned at the beginning. To be realistic, though, human instinct is fiercely resistant to staying calm. We will definitely encounter those frustrating, drive you crazy everyday dilemmas. For instance, what if someone deliberately messes up your room or even steals your money? Can you still remain as steady as Mount Tai in a situation like that? When someone genuinely comes to provoke us and disgust us, are we really just supposed to sit there motionless like a wooden block? In response to this soulful interrogation, The materials offer a very straightforward, even slightly dark-humored piece of brutal truth. Listen up. What other people do has nothing to do with you. At first glance, this might sound a bit cold-hearted, but if you chew on it carefully, it hits the exact target. Whether other people are reasonable or decent is purely their own business. If you insist on reacting to the mess they created, or even rush over to argue and bicker with them, do you know what you are doing? You are frantically stirring up the sediment in your own cup of water. The more you meddle, the muddier your cup of water becomes, and the easier it is for you to make mistakes along with it. So, the question is on a practical level. How on earth do we let this muddy water settle? In this muddy water metaphor, the steps of spiritual awakening are as precise as machinery operation. The first step is immovability. Stop your stirring hand. Stop looking around and gossiping everywhere. And stop rushing to label things. The second step is settling. As long as you can truly remain steady and unmoving, over time, gravity naturally causes the sediment to sink to the bottom. The water and sediment begin to separate. In classical terms, this has a professional name: subduing afflictions at the initial stage. The third step is the ultimate move: pour out the clear water from the top. Take the sediment at the bottom, root and branch, and throw it away completely. This is called permanently severing the root of ignorance. Once these three steps are completed, the old root that made your water muddy is completely cleared away. Now, this next point is something I find particularly mind-blowing. This material directly bridges ancient spiritual practice with modern physical phenomena. Think about it: reciting mantras or utilizing the power of the immovable Buddha Akshabhya. What are they actually doing? They are essentially utilizing specific physical vibration frequencies to rapidly separate water from sediment. This is just like using sound waves to vibrate a metal plate. The moment a specific sound frequency is released, the sand on the plate will automatically arrange itself into extremely orderly geometric patterns. Similarly, specific frequencies act like an accelerator, drastically speeding up the natural process of our mind transitioning from turbid to clear. It is simply amazing. Part 3: Immovability in Daily Life. How to truly integrate this practice into our mundane, ordinary everyday lives. One thing we must make clear: these profound philosophies are definitely not reserved solely for high-level retreatants hiding deep in the mountains and forests. They are 100% applicable to every single one of us sitting right here. What does true immovability actually look like in our daily lives? Let me list a few scenarios. When studying, can you maintain absolute, unshakable focus, completely unfazed by any commotion around you? When working, can you keep your mind free of distractions, single-mindedly devoted only to the task at hand? When returning home, can you wholeheartedly nurture family harmony without secretly calculating who contributes more and who does less? And firmly avoiding complaints. The materials very sternly point out that if you cannot achieve these things and daily find a bunch of excuses for yourself to argue and get distracted, then day in and day out, you are actually only doing one thing: stirring the muddy water. As long as you are still stirring, I'm sorry, but you are destined to accomplish nothing. So at the very end of today's breakdown, I want to leave you with a very direct yet highly challenging question. In the days to come, or even in the very next second after you finish watching this, are you planning to continue indulging your six thieves, frantically stirring the murky muddy water in your brain? Or are you finally willing to be a bit harsh on yourself? Calm your mind, sit still, and let this water naturally clarify itself. I hope this precious wisdom shared by the Australian Buddha Association genuinely brings a spark to you, helping you get one step closer to mental clarity in every present moment of your daily life. Thank you all for your company. See you in the next breakdown.